Hey everybody, Dauntless here, and welcome back to another Space Quest fan game. Now this one I've actually played before, but it was a while ago, so I'm not quite savvy on how to get through it. So I might remember some of the puzzles, but not all of them. Now, on another note, this is actually the second time I have recorded this because I've done the first 30 minutes or so of the game. The problem is that I ended up recording it and the game sound was so loud you couldn't hear me. So I've changed the settings and I've tested it out. So unfortunately, you won't be able to get my initial reaction. I'm very sorry about that. I normally try and get my initial first reactions when playing something, even if it is something I've already played before. So hopefully I can try and I can still make it look good. Yeah, this is actually that was the other thing. This is the second fan game that Space Quest fan game that was ever put out. The first one being the Lost Chapter, and the Lost Chapter was released after a major Space Quest drought for me, especially I guess for my whole family. But basically, what happened was they canceled Space Quest after Space Quest 6, and then there was nothing. We had to sit there and just kind of play the same things over and over. And then the Lost Chapter came out, and I was so thrilled. I don't even remember if it was a good game. I just remember that I was so happy playing it that I liked it anyway. It was Space Quest. It was my favorite game. So then they released this one, and I remember I really liked this one too. But since I had already played the Lost Chapter, I might have been a little more objective about the whole thing. But we'll see. Let's see if I still like this game. Ladies and gentlemen, Space Quest Zero Replicated. Let's click here and... that old sound. The artwork in this opening screen is actually pretty good. I like the way they did it. It does look a lot like that classic Space Quest, art style, like you'd see on the boxes. Chapter 0. A long time away in a galaxy far, far ago. There we go, our mandatory Star Wars reference. It was the age of science. Light speed travel gave way to subatomic health foods and free holovision. Physicians promised an end to ailments within the decade. Pop-ups had been eliminated. Well, that's the most important one right there. The pristine planet Xenon realizes the threat of a dying sun. Aliens and Syrians, warring thugs from outside the system, bring the war to local doorsteps. Authorities seem powerless. One Dr. Volhall is rumored to be constructing a clone army. But hope exists. Cloning becomes outlawed by Irnonian law. I forgot that there was Xenon, but it was part of the Irnon system. An underground rebellion begins, promising to crush the clone threat. We begin the story with our quasi-hero Roger Wilco, a lone sanitation engineer who has recently landed a job aboard the Xenon Orbital Station 10. Good luck, Roger. Labian Orbital Station 10, Class 3 cloning facility. That's interesting. So wait a minute, I thought cloning was illegal, so... Is Roger working with Volhall right now? You wake from your nap inside the janitor's closet with the faint recollection of the sound of gunfire. Emerging from the stale darkness, you rub your eyes and instantly notice the body of a fellow crewmate. The ship is silent. Unnaturally silent. Dun dun dun! This is the lower laboratory section of the station. There are maintenance doors on the right and an elevator door in the northwestern corner of the room. One of your crewmen lies in the center of the floor. So there's a few things I want to show you. First of all, of course it's a text-parser interface, which I absolutely love. But look at this. Diagonal movement sprites. I love that. They did not have that in any of the original Space Quests. They didn't have it in 1, 2, or 3. It wasn't until 4 that they started doing that. At least I think so. Yeah, it wasn't until 4. Also, uh, wanted to mention that I've managed to start working with AGS, and I managed to actually get a partially working text parser interface working. So I'm hoping I'll be able to maybe create a cool little text parser interface game. I'm going to start with something simple like a single room or something like that, and then see how it goes from there. But I've always liked the text parser interface. I've always just kind of thought there is something nostalgic about it, and it's like this. It just makes me feel more like, in control of what the character is doing, because I can type in anything. I may not recognize it, but I can sure type it in. I spy something completely different from what you're trying to look at. Smart Alec. There are several panels about the room. The most obvious one is the one southwestern corner of the room, which is that way. Well, let's go and search the body. This poor lab assistant... Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. This poor lab assistant has a sizable hole burned through his abdomen. You search the body and find a key card. Oh. You retrieve the key card. And they added in a point sound. And I like that it's very simple as well. I think when I play the Police Quest series, you'll find in Police Quest 2, like, oh my goodness, that point sound was just ridiculous. I like the game, don't get me wrong. Police Quest 2 is awesome, but man, that was one hell of a point sound they had. There is a flashing green button on the computer panel. The rest of the panel is unpowered. And I'm going to save here because, pressing buttons willy-nilly. You push the flashing green button. A recorded voice emanates from the panel. Scientist log 364.0165. After receiving several threatening messages, I am beefing up security on this level. By the way, he's voiced by Kermit the Frog, yes. I fear the rebellion known as Ralph may be opposed to what I am doing here. Dr. Volhall could send some security personnel if he wants his research intact. I am working on a Volhall station. That's kind of interesting. What are these tubes? You'll have to look somewhere else for that. 2 of the cloning canisters contain what seem to be either undeveloped or mutated cloning experiments. One of the canisters is broken, and its contents have spilled onto the floor. The cold laboratory floor is shiny and clean, with the exception of a dead body in the center of the room. A viscous green goo has spilled from one of the cloning canisters. There are also puddles of it around the body. The goo is thick, but slips through your fingers. You have nothing to keep it in, nor do you need it for anything. Oop. There. Alright, well that's good to know. Saves me a lot of trouble. Scanning the floor of the rather empty janitor's closet, you find a crowbar. Fumbling around in the dark, you manage to find and pocket the barely used crowbar. Ouch! I think little jokes like that are something that I remember, like, the little ouch there. Because I remember they did that in Space Quest 2 when you Space Quest 3, you grab the ladder and you shove it in your pocket and it goes, ouch! Okay. I took the crowbar, right? Okay, yes. The elevator door is secured and airlocked. Use of force on this door is futile. A small key card system is attached to the wall beside the door. Oh. The elevator you are standing in is cramped but comfy. There is a panel with 3 buttons on the inside wall. The elevator panel is clearly marked and has only 3 buttons. 1, 2, and 3. One moment. I didn't think you guys would want to hear me snirking back my snot. You're currently at floor 1. Okay, I'm already there. Upon pushing the button, a diagram flashes above the panel, signifying that hall pressure has been compromised on floor 2. The computer rejects your input. Well, I guess we just go to 3 then. Ooh, messy. The stench of carnage smacks you square in the face. Dead bodies lay throughout the halls. Suddenly, you hear the pop of metal straining under pressure. The sound emanates through the hallway. Death does not become you, Roger. You've got to find a way out of here, and fast. Get closer. This poor crewman has an oozing hole burned through his chest cavity. You search the body and find nothing. Yay! What am I going to do with all this nothing? Oh, he became part of the wall! Oh, that is crazy. This is the outer hall of the bridge. 2 deceased crewmen litter the hallway, giving it an eerie, impending doom sort of decor. You search the body and find nothing. This is the main bridge for the station. All orders and operations originate here. The back wall consists of the central computer consoles for each discipline required to run the station and 2 exit doors. There are 2 ensign's chairs in front, as well as the main view screen, and 3 officers' chairs at center. This is the bridge from the Enterprise D, Star Trek The Next Generation, just in case you don't already know that. You search the body and find a CPU microchip. Oh! You retrieve the microchip from the dead hand of the crewman. I'd like to say for the record that when I played this beforehand and when I was recording it and the sound was way too loud in the game, obviously right now it wasn't a problem, but during the intro and stuff, everything I said was basically blared out and it was so loud. I still searched that body first. Like, I immediately went up to it, because you'll notice it's the only one with different clothing, which I'm going to guess means he's the captain. You search the body, but find nothing of interest or value. There are 2 ensign's chairs in front, as well as the main view screen, and 3 officers' chairs at center. Ah! Look at what? Darn it! I don't think there's anything I can do there. This is a secondary communications and primary navigation station. It is currently inoperable. This is a primary communications and secondary navigation station. Upon touching it, you notice the view screen comes alive. It appears to be the end of a previous transmission. They're using the version from, that's the one from Space Quest 4, right? Yeah, they didn't have that look in Space Quest 2, so that's very good, though. It's an EGA recreation of it. I like that. I got points for that. And I also figured out this was engineering before I even looked at it because it has the picture of the ship on it. The engineering station informs you that there is an operations problem. Well, obviously, there's nobody doing any operations around here. Look at them all just sleeping on the job. The science station is inoperable. Well, that sucks. The communication station is silent and static. On the top panel, the color codes for hailing frequencies are listed. Purple equals conference request, blue equals docking procedures, orange equals distress situation, green equals end transmission. Although the main controls seem to be damaged, this information could probably be helpful later. I've actually written it down. When they start giving you color codes and stuff like that, best thing to do is just write it down. The navigations computer is inoperable. Guess we can't fly this space station anywhere. The medical terminal is usually alive with readouts on every member aboard. It is completely silent. There must be major damage to this area of the ship, or there's just nobody alive for it to scan. Well, actually, it would probably show me. Whoa. Ah, stop that. There we go. Well, let's keep on exploring. Whoops, sorry, I nearly kicked this guy's corpse. Boy, am I a nice guy. This room is unfinished, but thanks to the most modern of force field technologies, you are not sucked out into space. A large computer console occupies the back wall, and there are 2 power couplings here. Arcs of xenon ray-induced power light up each of the couplings. Normally, the beams are much more focused. There must be something wrong with the power. The computer console consists of several buttons as well as a monitor and a small slot. The buttons are unmarked, which probably means they are not for laymen. The small slot embedded in the mainframe is barely big enough to slide a fingernail into. You place the CPU inside the computer. The power couplings look to be operating quite normally. Okay, perfect. Excellent. So... this is one of the many hallways of the station. There is an elevator in the back. One of your crewmen lies in the center of the floor. Didn't I already search this? Yeah, I was already here. I don't think this hole was here. There is a sizable hole burned through one of the panels in the back wall. Through it, you can see a tightly packed array of machines. The machines spark and sizzle in indication that main power has been restored to the system. Hi, blue lady. There are 2 escape pods along the brick back wall and a garbage chute on the left. There is a sign posted beside the garbage chute. It looks like a warning. Notice, this disposal chute has been closed off due to complaints. Do not use. Thanks to the management. The refuse chute is for the disposal of large amounts of garbage. It is empty. Could you repeat that differently? Say what? That does not compute. What? Where? I'm trying to decide if there's anything, if I'm missing something. I think I'm okay, but what I'm going to do is save here as you climb into the escape pod. The escape pod hatch closes solidly behind you, and the smell of rich oxygen fills the cabin. You hear the locking mechanism on the hatch behind you. The interior of the pod comes alive. Now, I'd like to say for the record, there is one thing I just realized, is that if I had not picked up that crowbar, I haven't even used it yet, so it has nothing to do with what's going on that station. So I could have actually totally forgot it and left it there. I know that kind of bugs a lot of people, but it's one of those things that, you know, it is kind of funny that they added in that particular little thing that Space Quest did. You are seated in the cockpit of the escape pod. Excuse me again. You are seated in the cockpit of the escape pod, with an array of controls in front of you. The most obvious instruments are the monitor, throttle, lever, power button, and disk drive. An array of controls spread out in front of you. The most obvious instruments are the monitor, throttle lever, a yellow power button, and a disk drive. Several other buttons line the console, including a gray engine start button, red auto navigation booster, and a keypad system for manual sector entry. There are also 4 multicolored buttons, purple, blue, orange, and green. Each represents a level of hailing frequency and different meaning. You vaguely remember that one of them was a distress signal, orange, in case you're curious. Let's see. Warning, virus detected. Alright, virus contained. The large bay doors in front of you start to open and the automatic pilot kicks in. It's that thing from Space Quest 2. That's the exact same animation. Well, the exact same little, effect they're using. Uh-oh. That's not good. Let's see. Everything looks like it said okay. The orange button seems to activate the distress signal. The navigational system is offline. The manual sector entry will not help you. The engines try to restart, but fail. Looks like you are stuck. Crap. How about look at... Whoa! You reach under the captain's chair and retrieve the survival kit. You open the survival kit and acquire the rope, lighter, and rebreather. What? Try using that. After a few minutes, the ship falls dangerously close to the gravitational pull of the planet Labian and begins its haphazard descent. Actually, I didn't get the kit before. I died when this happened, and this is basically where I left off in the last one. But obviously, I'm moving a little faster through here. So now this should be all this should all be new terrain for me. The pod engages several last-minute engine firing procedures before it slams into the terrain. It pierces through a murky swamp and wedges itself in the floor. The viewport smashes open and water from the underground aquifer floods the cabin. Okay. Okay, cool. And this is Labian. This is literally Space Quest 2 Labian. The fish wander about the cavern, stopping only momentarily to nibble at the bits of moss that grow on the rocks. What's this thing? The cavern floor is covered with rocks and plant life. What is this gray thing something I need to grab? Or will it kill me? Maybe I'm okay. Maybe I just need to keep going. You are swimming in what seems to be an underground aquifer. There are a plethora of sharp rock formations here, as well as some strange plant life. There are no fish in this area. Oh, God, I remember this part. Uh, those pink things kill you. You are swimming in what seems to be an underground aquifer. There are small green plants that seem to grow in the rays of light that dot the floor of the cavern. A larger, more brightly colored plant seems to grow in the tighter spots of the cavern. They sway slightly with the current. Oh, no. So, yeah, if you touch those, you die. Kind of like in a... Oh! A single brush from the deadly blossom is all it took to render your entire body immobile. The paralysis takes effect quickly, but surprisingly, so does the blindness. You are unable to see or feel the millions of tiny spores that slowly feed upon your carcass. You suck. Thanks for playing. Oh, these guys are a little more direct on that kind of stuff. Let's see. Ah, darn it. I think the upper area is the way to go. But I remember that this was a colossal pain. I can't go through that way. What's in my inventory? Whoop. Mask. Lighter, rope. Oh, they call it a mask in the inventory. Okay, none of that is going to work here. Okay, so what I got to do is figure out how to get past that. Now, can I go the other way and not have to go through that garbage? Also, I'm finding it interesting that when he's swimming, he's not moving in a straight line. He's actually moving slightly upward, you'll notice. That's not me. That's actually the game. Nope. Looks like I absolutely have to go this way. Can I take a fish and, like, throw him at stuff? The fish are much too slippery to get, and you have no use for them. Leave the poor fish alone. Okay, can I get through this bottom area here? Oh, I seem to be getting somewhere, but that upward movement is just... Oh, man, look at that. There we go. Ha-ha! Oh, cool. You are swimming in what seems to be an underground aquifer. Okay. This looks like a way out. The area is packed with dense foliage. I know it's foliage. The air is balmy, and the occasional pest bites at your skin. Thick bushes open to reveal a path to the north, while the way seems clear to the east as well. Well, Roger, you've survived a crash landing and fought your way past deadly plants only to realize that you're stranded in the heart of the jungle. Who was that blue girl? Was she involved in the attack? These questions seemingly will have to wait until you can find some civilization. And there it is. There's the beginning. I will stop the video here because that seems like a very good place, and I'm almost out of time anyway. So, thank you everybody for dropping by. I really appreciate it. I actually am really liking this one because obviously, you know, it is definitely more of your classic Space Quest game, and I just personally have always liked. I've always enjoyed the text parser interface. I mentioned before that I enjoy it, but I think that in comparison to like point and click works really good if you're playing a very narrative-based game, and like Tales and Space Quest 5 and, you know, Space Quest 4 were much more narrative-based games, whereas when you got into the original Space Quest games, a lot of the original King's Quest games, it ended up being more of things are happening to you and you're just doing stuff. It had a sort of story, but not as much of an as later on. So it was more of a, like, you know, it was more of the actual adventure. And so I like being able to type in commands because it allows me to type in basically almost anything. I can be like, look at tree. You know, there's an exceptionally large tree here with roots that descend deep into the swamp and the branches that form a dense canopy. It is covered with a slimy film that causes it to glisten in the scattered rays of light that manage to pierce through. Now, you know, in maybe a point and click, I could use the hand icon on it, and I wouldn't know whether or not I'm going to try and take the you know, whatever, the slime on it, or I'm going to try and climb the tree or something like that. Whereas in this one, I actually have to think, what do I want to do with the tree? I can try, you know, climb tree. The tree is much too slippery to climb. There I go. How about take slime? That particular thing is unattainable at the moment. So, you know, I have more options of things I can try out based solely on my imagination and less on just, you know, trying out each icon, each command icon. And then, of course, that's made even simpler with literally the 2-button interface where you just, you know, click, left click or right click, which, you know, I'm not saying that that's a bad system. I'm saying it is definitely more of something if you want to focus on a storyline or, you know, a narrative, basically. It's a narrative-based game, as I said before. So, for me, I guess when it comes to adventure games, with this kind of thing, I prefer the text parser, which is why I'm trying to learn how to use that, because I want to try and, you know, make a dinky little text parser interface adventure game. But if it was more of a storyline thing with, you know, the, you know, really good narrative and stuff, I would prefer the, you know, point and click. In fact, I actually prefer the 2-button method over top of the, you know, having all the millions of icons up at the top. And let's face it, in Space Quest 4, you only used like 3 of them anyway, and they had like a tongue and a nose and all this stuff, and you never used them. So, yes. But, I'm actually really enjoying this. I'm glad it's still as good as it seems, and I forgot to mute that. So I will end the video here and just say thank you everybody for dropping by. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notifications icon so you know when I post up new stuff. And as always, I hope you all have a very good rest of your day.